Do you remember that feeling? The last bell of the day rings, and you're finally free. That was me every day. A little younger, a little more naive. My walk home from school was usually the best part of my day. It was my time to just exist, to kick a stray pebble down the sidewalk and think about absolutely nothing important. The route was simple. Down the main road, a quick turn onto a quieter residential street, and then through a small wooded path that was a well-known shortcut. It shaved a good 10 minutes off my journey, and let's be honest, at that age, 10 minutes is an eternity. This particular Tuesday started like any other. The air was crisp, with the first hint of autumn. I had my headphones on, probably listening to some band that I thought was the deepest thing in the world. As I turned onto the residential street, I noticed something a bit odd. All the houses, usually bustling with after-school activity, were silent. The windows were dark, which was strange for 4 in the afternoon. I shrugged it off. Maybe everyone was at a town meeting or something. My teenage brain didn't waste much time on it. I reached the entrance to the wooded path. The trees were already starting to lose their leaves, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching for the grey sky. It was always a bit dimmer in here, the canopy of leaves blocking out most of the sun, but today it felt different, deeper. The usual sounds of chirping birds and rustling squirrels were gone. All I could hear was the soft crunch of my own footsteps on the fallen leaves. That's when I saw him, or what I thought was a him. Further down the path, standing almost perfectly still, was a figure. They were tall, unnaturally so, and dressed in what looked like an old, dark trench coat, even though it wasn't particularly cold. Their back was to me. I slowed down, a little prickle of unease on my neck. I figured they were just another person taking the shortcut. I took my headphones off, letting them hang around my neck. The silence was overwhelming. I kept walking, trying to make my steps sound normal, casual. As I got closer, I realized I couldn't hear them breathing. There was no sign of life, just this static, silent figure blocking the path. I cleared my throat, a small, nervous sound. "Excuse me," I said, my voice sounding way too loud in the stillness. The figure didn't move. Not a twitch. My heart started to beat a little faster. This wasn't normal. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to turn back, to run back to the main road and take the long way home. But part of me was frozen by a weird, morbid curiosity. I took a few more hesitant steps, trying to get a look at their face as I passed. The path was narrow, so I'd have to walk right beside them. As I drew level with the figure, I risked a glance, and my blood ran cold. There was no face. Where a face should have been, there was just smooth, pale skin. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just a blank, featureless expanse, like a mannequin that had been left unfinished. I swear I stopped breathing. My feet felt like they were glued to the ground. It was impossible. It had to be a mask. A really, really good mask. My mind raced, trying to find a logical explanation. A prank? a street performer practicing, but out here in this silent, empty wood, it didn't make sense. I forced myself to move, picking up my pace. I didn't run, not yet. I was too scared to make any sudden moves, worried what might happen if I did. I just walked fast, my eyes locked on the path ahead, not daring to look back. The crunch of leaves behind me told me I wasn't alone anymore. It had started to follow me. The steps weren't rushed. They were slow, deliberate, a steady, rhythmic crunch, crunch, crunch. That matched my own quickening pace perfectly. I didn't need to look back to know it was the faceless thing. I could feel its presence, a cold spot on my back that had nothing to do with the autumn air. Panic finally took over. I broke into a full-on sprint. My backpack bounced wildly. My lungs burned. All I could think about was reaching the end of the path, getting back to the open street, back to civilization. The crunching behind me got faster, keeping pace with me effortlessly. It never seemed to get closer, but it never fell behind either. It was like my own shadow had come to life and was chasing me. I could see the light at the end of the path, the opening to my street. It was the most beautiful sight I had ever seen. I pushed myself harder, my legs screaming in protest. With one final burst of adrenaline, I burst out of the woods and onto the familiar pavement of my street. I didn't stop. I ran all the way to my front door, fumbling with my keys with shaking hands. I slammed the door shut, locking it, bolting it, and leaning against it, gasping for air. My heart was hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it would break. For a long time, I just stood there, listening. There were no footsteps outside. No sound at all, except for my own ragged breathing. Slowly, I crept to the window and peeked through the blinds. The street was empty. The entrance to the wooded path looked just as it always did, dark and unassuming. It was as if nothing had happened. Was it all in my head? Did I just panic over a weirdo in a mask? But I knew what I saw. I knew that chilling, blank face, and I knew the feeling of being hunted. I never took that shortcut again. I don't even like walking near that patch of woods anymore. Sometimes, when the house is quiet at night, I think I can hear it. The soft, rhythmic crunching of leaves on a forest floor. It's a sound that will stay with me forever. It's a reminder that some things don't have an explanation, and that sometimes the safest path is the one that's a little bit longer. So, if you ever find yourself walking alone and the world goes a little too quiet, just keep walking. Don't stop, and whatever you do, don't look back. You never know what might be following. Thanks for sticking with me through that. It's a story I don't tell very often. If you have any creepy stories of your own, I'd love to read them in the comments. Stay safe out there, and if you enjoyed this, please consider liking the video and subscribing for more. I'll see you in the next one.